Hey, what's up, everybody? This is your boy AJ Tip. Welcome to a special edition of That's a Shoot. This episode, we're going to go talk about directly the Undertaker Last Ride documentary that has happened over the past 8 weeks. 5 episodes the past 8 weeks. Yeah, we're gonna dive deep. Uh, we're not gonna dive deep into it, but we're gonna talk about some of the major talking points of this show from chapter one all the way to chapter five. And yeah, this is to celebrate the life and career of the Undertaker. Is this his last ride? Let's go ahead and let's find. So let's start from the first to beginning, from the first chapter to the last chapter. In the chapter one, they titled "The Greatest Fear," and this was about the fear of what Undertaker's legacy wanted to be. He doesn't want to last, overstay his welcome. He talks about um, so much stuff during this first thing. He talks about how his character had evolved and things like that when he first got started. He talks about like the eye roll that he always does, and he talks about that it just happened in a match with Greg and him Valentine, and people loved it, so he's kept it all the time. Um, and this starts off uh, from WrestleMania 33. I think so. This was so. I think what they knew was that they knew this was going to be the Undertaker's last ride. At least that's what everybody thought. Because listen, when you leave your gloves and hat in the ring, it's supposed to be the last ride. It's supposed to be this last match, and he does what he normally does, and he puts over the new big star in Roman Reigns, which is what happened. So in the first few minutes of this documentary, Roman Reigns and Undertaker are checking in at the same time at the front desk, and Taker kids Roman talking about he can't you keep kayfabe for even the biggest second, meaning that he shouldn't, Roman shouldn't be checking in with his opponent, WrestleMania opponent. Same time, they should be in such a feud that they would want to fight each other everywhere. This would not happen in the 80s and in the 70s. Or this probably wouldn't even have happened in the 90s, really. Maybe even the early 2000s. This is probably from the mid 2000s on is when really, truly kayfabe really truly died. And they weren't even playing about all of the stuff that was going on between heels and faces and everything like that. So but yeah, so they talked about the WrestleMania match, and they do a lot of, this is kind of like the Last Dance with Michael Jordan. They do a lot of flashbacking and a lot of going back and forth from things from the past to the future. And they talked about Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 30, and that he doesn't even remember that match. His last memory is of 3:30 that day. Through that day, and then having the match. He's somewhere he got concussed. He doesn't know where. He's watched the match over many times. He can't figure out when he got concussed. So they, and of course he fell out backstage, and Vince told everybody to come. We need some help. We seen that clip, and so they took him to the hospital. And Brock and Vince actually left the show to follow to make sure that he was okay. He was in the hospital and he was trying to cheat. Michelle McCool tells a story where the doctors were asking what his name was and where he was, and he would, tap Michelle and go, hey, what's my name? Where am I at? And she said, no, 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 no. You got to know yourself. This is something that you got to do. But what that did was that destroyed his confidence. It really did. It destroyed his confidence, and he took that entire year off. And the next year, he had that WrestleMania. He had the WrestleMania match with Bray Wyatt, and it took Triple H to come over and tell him to remember who the fuck you are and to um, go out there. And the match was okay. It wasn't a show still or anything like that. The match with Bray Wyatt was okay, and that kind of gave him a little bit more. That match kind of get his confidence back. So then they talk about the Royal Rumble match of 2017, and they talked about that was the one where that's the one where Roman Reigns, he has the match early in the evening with with Kevin Owens, for the WWE title. He has a match early in the evening with Kevin Owens for the WWE title, or the Universal title, and he loses. But Roman Reigns comes out at number 30, and if you if you if you do YouTube and then search Roman Reigns number 30 reaction, and it's hilarious, the combination of reactions that it is, they just it's so funny. But anyway, he had so much trouble during that match, and he knew that that's not a match he should have been in. That was a match that he shouldn't have been in. That's um that's a match that it should never have happened, you know, and because he just wasn't in his right place. He was in a real bad place with his health, and so um, yeah, so he knew he shouldn't have been in there. He knew he shouldn't have been going to doing the thing with Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. Um, but interesting was that during that Hall of Fame weekend, he even sat down and talked to Roman Reigns, and he sat down and talked with his family. A lot of good stuff there. Roman Reigns he's in reverence of Undertaker, as like many people are, and he just couldn't believe it that he can that even though they're getting ready to do a bit of business, here they are you know just talking to him and learning some things, and so it's very interesting. So the stuff he had to go through, I think he had to get a cortisone shot in his knee. Uh, and I had a cortisone shot in my ankle. That thing fucking hurt. So I think that's what he did. He had to get a minute cortisone shot for the remaining 33 match and everything. And he goes through all of that stuff. He has the match, and the match is not what people wanted. It's not what people wanted. It really isn't. It was. I mean, it's, and really the biggest thing was that it would have been an okay match, but it's that one part, and they show it here, and they kind of focus on where Roman Reigns, they're trying to do a reverse tombstone spot where Undertaker would tombstone Roman Reigns would tombstone the Undertaker, but a combination of maybe Undertaker just not being in a great position, in great health to help Roman Reigns get up there, and Roman Reigns, maybe not, you know, I don't know, but it just obviously did not work, and they tried a couple times, and it looked ugly and unfortunate, and we all know that Roman Reigns won that match, and he beat the Undertaker, and he came out, um, and he left his hat and his gear in the ring, and they show a lot of people crying and unbelievable because it's what a lot of us thought was Undertaker's last ride. It was truly his last ride, and so yeah, they in all honesty, it probably should have been his last ride. There's a lot of times in this thing where you go through and you wonder what what should have been, what could have been Undertaker's last good match. What should it have been? You know, and I don't know. You can go back to WrestleMania 30. Should that have been the last match? 21-1. WrestleMania 30. Should that have been Undertaker's last match? Should maybe the match at Hell in a Cell with Brock Lesnar, to get revenge for that match? Should that have been Undertaker's last match? Should that Roman match have been Undertaker's last match? But we find out that it's just not. He just couldn't do it. Now at the end of this first chapter, he says that he is convinced riding off into the sunset, but he's content. He's riding off into the sunset, but we know that the second chapter is called the Redemption. And it's called the Redemption because a few weeks after they catch him watching the match, and he's disappointed in himself. He says that he was overweight. He wasn't even right. He wasn't in. He was right. And he wasn't healthy enough. He wasn't good enough, and he felt bad that he couldn't put over Roman. He couldn't give Roman that truly WrestleMania moment that he should deserve. Because when you think about it, right? When you think about some of the long-lasting last matches for people, right? When you think about the Undertaker Shawn match, right, in WrestleMania 26, when you think about the Shawn Michaels Ric Flair match for WrestleMania 24, um, and there's probably been others. There's been probably a few others out there, and a few other retirement. When you think about Mick Foley's first retirement match was him and Triple H, right? Those matches were great, and those matches were went out the way you would have wanted somebody to go out, right? Because you went out putting over somebody. Although in the case of Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels, you're not really you're not putting over some new star like you was. Like Triple H needed that. He needed, even though he was the heavyweight champion, he needed that. He needed those two matches with Mick Foley and at Royal Rumble, the Street Fight, and at Hell in a Cell, in the Way Out, Hell in a Cell. He needed those two matches to really put him over as the man. He really did, and it helped him out. Obviously, Shawn Michaels was already good, so he didn't need Ric Flair, but they still had a tremendous match, and of course, you can talk about that WrestleMania. The WrestleMania 25 match is the greatest match of all time, but the WrestleMania 26 match was just as good. It was just as good. Um, so um, so yeah, I mean so that's what Undertaker wanted. He wanted that not only for himself, but he wanted that for Roman because obviously that was in the time when Roman was getting the mixed reaction and everything like that. And he was always still going to get a mixed reaction, but at least you can. One of the things you could have said was that if they had a fantastic match, you could have said that he retired the Undertaker, right? That's what he did. This is, what does Baron Corbin do right now? Baron Corbin, he says he retired Kurt Angle, right? So that could have been something Roman could have always used as one of his things. He's the one that put the Undertaker away. Um, but yeah. Um, but so he felt bad he couldn't do that for Roman, and he was disgusted at his stuff. So he goes and gets hip surgery. At this point, he's still pretty much thinking that he's retired. He goes and has hip surgery. They play his music when he goes to have his surgery, which is amazing. The doctor is, I guess, a lifelong wrestling fan, or at least a fan of the at least Undertaker. Then after they talk about his surgery and he's doing his rehab, they go into the relationship with Michelle and how they met and the things that they were and what she has meant to him through all of this and what they mean to each other and the great way that they seem to have come together was that Michelle McCool knew how to throw a football and that's what really attracted it to him. So yeah, it was real. That was a real nice moment to talk about. It kind of side note here when she first started wrestling, the two people she didn't want to meet were Kane and the Undertaker. That's the two things she didn't want to meet was Kane and the Undertaker. Um, and they talk about Vince, and then they get into Vince, and they talk about and they talk about Vince and Undertaker's relationship, and people talk about how much they love each other, and so much so that Vince at some point they asked Vince, what does Undertaker mean to you and mean to the WWE? And he can't answer. He doesn't answer because he's just too emotionally. He means too much for him. So he says, can't do it. So they go and have a meeting with Vince, and um, they're talking about future. They want to know what can happen and what goes on. And so he says, you know what? I'll train and I'll get ready. And if someone gets hurt, I'll be there. Um, But and he does that. But while he's doing that, Michelle is getting ready for the first women's Royal Rumble. So he heads out there and he goes to support Michelle. And of course, Michelle actually, I think that she eliminated the most people that in that first one. If you who knew, right? That's probably maybe there's a little thing there from Undertaker. Hey, she eliminates. Do that for Undertaker. Although kind of interesting, they would do that then, but then when they would do the whole women's thing a few months ago, they forgot in fact to even put her on the poster. So, but yeah, they do that. So then they get a ring down to Houston, Texas, and he works out, and they talked about doing something with Cena. So he does all of his stuff. He does his workout, and he sends a message to Vince that he can do it. He works out with actually Primo, who's not with the company anymore, but he works out with Primo, and they say yes. And they work out together, and it's kind of funny. The Edge documentary had him working out with Scott, Dash Wilder, um, now Cash Wheeler, right? Of FTR, and now who's someone who got cut before that documentary. Their documentary was shown, and now they show him working out with Primo, who got cut before this documentary was shown. Right, he was part of the April things, even though they haven't been working with WWE forever. Um, but yeah, so he works out, he gets in shape. Eventually, like he feels so good, he goes out and he has a 5 minute match with John Cena. It was a squash match, just basically. And he wanted more. He wanted like 45 minutes. That's how he felt good. He wanted a 45 minute because apparently Undertaker and John Cena have only had one singles match. They had one single in their entire career, and now two. And so that was interesting. They've only crossed paths in the ring as singles competitors twice. That's amazing. Um, and that's one of the reasons. That's one of the things that you get with the brand split. You get guys who never get the opportunity to really work with each other, do a program with each other that probably could have and probably could have done some good business with each other. They never get the opportunity because of their damn brand split, which is why I hope the rumors are true that they're gonna just scrap the brand split. Excuse me, all together, and just go ahead and um, just go back to having one roster and hopefully one set of champions for each division. Anyway, but yeah, he wanted more, and they ended kind of talking about his daughter was kind of mad that he beat Cena. He was like, really? I can't really. But yeah, so he feels good, and he has a little bit of redemption from last year, from the year before WrestleMania with Roman Reigns. He has a little bit of it, but he's in a great spot. He feels, and he's a great spot, and the end of redemption. So number three is the end of an era. That's what they named it, and they named it that because basically it's about him, Triple H, and Kane, um, and uh, and uh, and Shawn Michaels and the stuff that those guys did. Basically, they talk about. Well, first we talking about that. Even though he had his match with Cena, I have it down here. He's looking for that right rabbit. When I meant to say he's looking for that white whale. He's still looking. Even though that match was good, it was only 5 minutes. Wasn't enough for him. So he's looking for something else. So that's when they started that Saudi Arabia deal. So he goes to Jeddah and he has the casket match with Rusev. He does a match at Madison Square Garden. Um, last time he sets up him. And then they start to, so and after the Madison Square Garden match, Triple H starts, they come up with the thing of maybe doing one last run with together. Because apparently they have a great relationship. They've always had great in-ring chemistry and always have a great respect. And even though they're not the type of friends where they call each other every day or they, talk to each other, they can go months without speaking a word to each other. But each one knows that if something happens, they can call and they'll be there in a flash. And and that's a really good friendship. I think that's really good friendship. You don't have to speak to each other for a long time. You don't have to see each other, but if something happens, I'd be there for you and you'd be there for me. That's a type of friendship that I think we all long for. As much as the kind of friendship we want to have, that you can see each other and talk to each other and hang out with each other and do things with each other. There's also something to the effect of that friendship that you get your life and I get my life, and we don't have to conversate. But boy, if I need you, you be there in a snap. And same thing, if you needed me, I'll be there in a snap. So that's a really good friendship that they have. So then they're going to Australia. So they're gonna do the Super Showdown match. And the Super Showdown match, it was really good. It was really good, and they um they talk about um, doing something like that. Um, and they have it, and Triple H wins, and then the Kane and Undertaker they attack Shawn and Triple H, and then that leads to DX versus the Brothers of Destruction at Crown Jewel. That the infamous Crown Jewel, where that was right after Jamal Khashoggi was killed, um, prior by the government, the Saudi Arabia government, and so they had that match, and but so I'm probably taking some things out of order here, um, but they also talk about the ones with the four, right, the four matches with Triple H and Shawn, 25, 26, 27, and 28. They talk about those matches and how the stories continued and everything like that, and how they were so proud of those matches. They were so proud of those things, and how they were just they were so happy with how every one of those things went. And really, those are some of the best matches in Michael's career. Those are the best matches in Triple H's career, best matches in Undertaker's career. And Undertaker had some fantastic matches. And I think at some point, I'm not necessarily sure. I have to go back and look at because I think I did the top WrestleMania matches of all time. I think I did that. Um, so I need to go back and look at that, because even though I don't think there have been any matches to have come close, the closest one I think would be the Rousey Angle, um, Triple H Stephanie McMahon match. That might be the closest one, but I do need to go back and check that. To check on that, but yeah, those are something, like some of those things are like so interesting, like, right, to do those type of things. But anyway, they talk about that, and that leads to the DX stuff and everything like that, and that also leads to an epic promo from Kane and the Undertaker, where Kane is talking. He says, "We have three words for you." And the Undertaker goes, "Go fuck yourself." And Kane does the crotch chop, and it's hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious. It's gonna make you. If you haven't seen it, it makes you laugh out loud. It's so doggone funny, and everybody else laughed out loud. But it was something that they had so funny, and what really happened, is I think Undertaker blames some bad juju going on in his life. Um, and some other people think that it was just an off night for everybody. I mean, the Crown Jewel match was another disappointment. I think I originally gave that match about three and a quarter, 3.5 stars. But when you do look at it, you probably take a star away, and it's probably 2.25, 2.5 stars. I mean, it was maybe even less. Maybe you go to 2 stars really. Um, I think that is one of the things with me. That is one of the things with me. In the moment, I can see something for what it is, and I can enjoy it for what it is. But then you go back and look at it, and it's not good. And I recently just found that out with the Bret Hart 1-2-3 Kid match. I have been touting the Bret Hart 1-2-3 Kid match from the 1994 Monday Night Raw in the summer. I've been touting that as one of the greatest matches in Raw history. You know, it's a 5-star match. And then I went back and I watched it a while ago, and I really realized this really isn't that great. It's I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say it really isn't that great. It's a darn good match. It's a really good match. But it's not the 5-star classic. It's probably around 4 stars. You know, it's excuse me. It's probably around 4 stars. But so and I kind of think that's the way that is, that's why I felt like that. I probably in that moment I thought it was probably better than it was. But when you go back and realize it, it's probably not as good as you thought it was. And things that make Triple H tore his bicep very early, or tore his pectoral very early in the match, and then Kane's mask fell off, and things just didn't go to plan. And it just, Sean even says, he goes backstage, missed it by that much, because it was just bad, and they all knew it. They all knew it. So yeah. And then we leave Michelle McCool saying, "Oh boy, it was such a bad. He's gonna have to now he's gonna want to get redemption for that match." And so yeah, and that's how they end the end of the era chapter. Chapter 4 is the battle within. This is where they started off talking about more of the Undertaker's persona and what it was that it was so people revealed at it so much, why it's the greatest character in wrestling history. Um, they go from that to Undertaker watching WrestleMania 35, and at first he is okay with it. He's okay with it. He is he is fine, but when he gets into it, he realizes that he should be he's getting an itch. He realizes he should be there. Although beforehand, before that he had actually went to New York, and Vince said that they wanted him to do something. They wanted to book him for Monday Night Raw, and said, okay, well, I didn't have my gear. He said, you didn't have your gear, so he flew currently. I guess he flew Saturday night, flew to Houston, got his gear, and flew back for Mania, so that he could do the Raw after Mania. And it was with Elias, and he did some stuff with Elias in the ring. So that leads to maybe Vince talking to Undertaker about doing something with Goldberg at the Saudi Arabia show, and it's oh, wow, okay, really, that's amazing. And you know what? Yeah, I'll go ahead and I'll do that. I'll talk about that. And you know they do some stuff, um and of course we know how that happens, how that ends. Goldberg gets concussed. He either gets concussed by hitting his head on the locker stage, or when he goes into the ring post, he hits his head, bushes it open, and he gets and maybe he gets concussed there, and all hell went loose, and there was so much other stuff. During that time, it was so hot there. It was almost 100 degrees. And I don't know if that's the humid heat or the dry heat, but whatever it is, when it's over 100 degrees, that's out. And you got 2 men over 50 there, and there was no reason for even though Goldberg and Curse, it still was no reason for that match to try to go as long as it should have been. This match, it should have been what Lesnar, Drew McIntyre, and what uh, Goldberg, Braun Strowman was at WrestleMania. It should have been 5 minutes of just hitting your big moves. But they tried to go out and wrestle, try to do other things. Once again, they tried to have Goldberg do Undertaker's tombstone for some reason. I have no idea why. He couldn't get him up, and they tried, and then Goldberg tried to jackhammer him, and it went horribly wrong, and it turned into a basically a brain buster. And they talked about that it was 6 inches here or 6 inches there. It could have turned out tragic with Undertaker, and so it's just so bad. He even hurt his upper back and things like that. And it was once again just a bad thing. There were reports that backstage Undertaker and Undertaker and Goldberg had a bit of a you know a bit of a scuffle. Not scuffle, but a bit of a verbal confrontation backstage about it. But he says here, and Michelle talks about it, says that it's through the fault of nobody. So I'm not sure if they're just if they're just saying the right things, or if it's saying the right things, or if it really is just been water under the bridge and things like that with Goldberg. And we know from Goldberg's 24 documentary that he wasn't okay with that either. He wasn't okay with what happened, and that's why he came back to do business with Dolph Ziggler later in the year for SummerSlam. So. Um, but yeah, I mean, it was just so there was a lot of things there. Um, they talked about the Graveyard Dogs from Extreme Rules. He was signed up to do Extreme Rules. When you hear sign on to do Extreme Rules, uh, after at the same time he signed on to do Super Showdown with Goldberg. But after the Goldberg match, he didn't even know if he wanted to continue on. Should he even try again? But it was such a great feeling. It was such a great match, and things like that it was great. That he loved doing it. Even to the fact that afterwards he told Vince, "I'm done," because he thought the match went so well that he was happy with it. He was happy with it being done. He walked off into the sunset, and you're gonna walk off into the sunset and everything like that. Vince was it was kind of double dead chin, because one time Vince was saying, "Well, it's not about physically, but it's about what you got in here." So he's kind of giving him that push, but then at the end he does say, "Mark, I'll follow your lead, whatever you want." So very interesting there. They also get into the bit of a beef that Undertaker and Vince did have when talking about Starcast. Undertaker and I'm not sure when. I'm not sure exactly when this was, but they talked about the Starcast event. Um, and Starcast, it was going to be doing this around the same time as AEW's Double or Nothing pay per view. I think was going to be doing it, and but he was just there just to do Starcast. He didn't know that it was. He didn't even know that the AEW thing was even. Now those are two separate events, but uh, it definitely Starcast is definitely going to have some AEW flavor um, to that. A lot of the AEW people were going to be there in attendance because Conrad Thompson and Jim Ross works there, so yada yada yada. Um, but so then Vince knew, and Vince thought he was maybe doing something with film. He said, "No, I'm not doing it." So there was a bit of a falling out there, but they talked it out, and everything has been, as they say, sunshine and rainbows. So they did talk about set. I'm not sure if it was before or after, AEW stuff. I can't remember at this point in time. But yeah. But going back to the end of the show, where the end of the fourth chapter, he talks about being done, and it's he's done, and so and he walks off with AJ Styles, and then finally, the fifth chapter, the one that I watched yesterday, was Revelation. So again, like I said, we left off with him walking off with AJ Styles at the end of the fourth one, and you kind of get that as the same way. This is kind of a setup to what we're going to talk about in this fifth chapter. But before we get to that, we do talk about he comes back to the SmackDown at Madison Square Garden, and he does his stick in the ring. He does his talk. He also did something with Sami Zayn as well. They didn't show that, but then when they go back and he's in the locker room, and the locker room all to himself, he's sitting back and he's reflecting on a lot of things. He's reflecting on the Goldberg match and how that could have, and how terribly that could have went. now he could have left Michelle McCool a widow, and how he could have left his his daughter without a father. And he reflects on his father, and how his father was you know a big part of his life. Talking about how he couldn't believe that he would walk away from a basketball scholarship to go do wrestling. He couldn't believe it. He wasn't really he wasn't really okay with it, even though he supported his son. And this also comes up because when he's talking, we hear from the outside. I guess the producer, one of the producers says, "Is there anything I can get you?" And he's he wants to get some makeup remover for the eyeliner stuff, and so so then that leads to him talking about reminiscing about his father. Um, brought him to a show in Houston, and he did the makeup. Again when he was doing the almost original incarnation of the Dead Man gimmick, where he was, he definitely he was putting on a lot more white or stuff under the eyes or things like that, making him a little bit more undead, so to speak. And that was makeup, and his father would just sit there and just shake his head at him. So yeah, and they were talking about that. Then they show him going to Los Angeles to record the Stone Cold Steve Austin Broken Skull sessions with the Undertaker, and they talking about that. And apparently somebody calls AJ Styles and tells him that Undertaker says that he's done. He might be done, and AJ says, "Wow, it's so interesting." He wants to be God. So AJ Styles says, "Well, listen, I'm gonna take my shot. I'm gonna call take. I'm not gonna call Vince because even if Vince says yes, if Undertaker says no, it's not gonna happen. So I'm gonna call Undertaker first." And so he calls Undertaker, and he wants to do a match with him at WrestleMania. And Taker says, "Well, okay, I don't know. I think I'm done. I think I'm done. I think I had a good ride." And just think about it. So he thinks about it, and then. So then he gets a call from Matt Bloom, one of the trainers in NXT, Albert, Tensai, however you know him as. He talked to some of the big men of NXT, guys like Keith Lee, Damian Priest. I think Baba Tunde was under there. I think that big 7'3" guy who's now the Ninja, one of Akira Tozawa's ninjas that we've seen in the past couple weeks. So I think we talked to that guy. It's a big man class, and so he's there watching him, and he's talking to them. Bronson Reed was there as well, and gets in the ring with them, gets to work through a little bit. So I tell you, that's something that Undertaker. There's a part of me that says that's something that Undertaker would be fantastic at. That's something Undertaker would be truly fantastic at, and I also think that is something that the Undertaker should not even try. he really shouldn't. He really shouldn't do, because that's just gonna get This is gonna get his feelings back into the stuff. So I kind of think that is something that he probably should not even think about doing. But he does that, and but while doing that, because while doing that, while talking to the bit man, he's starting to work out and get into the ring shape and things like that. And he says, "Well, you know what? Let's go. AJ." And he calls Vince. They try to rib AJ. He calls Vince and tells Vince that he's gonna do. He's gonna work Mania, but he's gonna work with somebody else. He's gonna work with somebody young, one of the young bucks. And Vince calls AJ and tells him that he said that he's gonna do WrestleMania, but he's not gonna work with you. He's gonna work, and he said he's gonna work with some new guy from Tennessee. AJ says bullshit, so he calls bullshit on him right away, and he calls Taker, and Taker tells him the same thing. And he says bullshit, you're trying to rip me. AJ catches on really quick, but they decided to do it, and then they do the thing at Super Showdown where Undertaker comes out and he just choke slams AJ Styles, and it's a 1-2-3, which everybody for some reason they hated. They hated it because they thought it buried AJ Styles and something like that. And these people use buried way too much, way too often. So that's what it is. But so that's the start of it, and then they talk about Undertaker is getting, he starts getting it back into shape and training shape. Even to at one point where he gets a nosebleed while training. So that was interesting. So Styles takes it upon himself apparently to bring in the stuff. You see, he goes personal. He brings in Michelle McCool, his wife. He calls Undertaker Mark Calloway. She breaks down that fourth wall, makes it a kind of work shoot type thing. And even to the most point of the fact where Michelle McCool did not know about it, was okay with it, you know, later. But even at first, she kind of thought, "Hey, you son of a bitch, what's wrong with you?" She started to get angry with him. Where she admits he's doing his job, which is okay. He's supposed to make me angry. He's supposed to make the fans angry. But it's still, so much so that he texted AJ's wife and said, "This is your asshole husband out here doing this to me." So, but she was still okay with it because he knew that's where the story was supposed to go. And Undertaker was like, "Well, this needed to go somewhere. He needed to go to that place to where that it would make me so mad." And he talks about the Holy Trinity of everything. What he was talking about was he was talking about the Undertaker, the Dead Man, the Dead Man. He was talking about the American Badass. And he was talking about Mark Calloway. That was the Holy Trinity that he was talking about. These three, all three were going to come and kick his ass, which is what happened. And then, of course, COVID-19 hits and all types of shit hits the fan. And what was supposed to be a wrestling match in front of 80,000 at WrestleMania um, turned out to be obviously what it was. And they had to switch it up and they went on location. They did the whole Boneyard match. And so at one point they were out. They found a site outside of Orlando, which had some stuff, and they turned it into like this kind of makeshift graveyard and shit like this. And so did all this shit. They were up there setting up. Undertaker was there, so was AJ. So even I think Luke and Carl was there as well. So they get back into the car and they're going back to the I guess to the performance center or wherever. Undertaker gets a call from his niece, saying that his uncle, that his brother, um, had a heart attack, and he goes, "Wow, where did go? What hospital is he in?" He says, "No, Uncle Mark, he didn't make it." So days before he shoots that that Boneyard match, the Undertaker's brother passes away, and so you think about that, he's in there in basically a makeshift cemetery right after his father and his father's father, after his brother passes away, and how much toll that could have taken on him as well. So there's big props up to Undertaker and everything like that. So for doing that, a lot of people wouldn't have been able to do that. They wouldn't have been able to say, this reminded me of my brother, and I can't go through with it, or it would have affected him so much that he wouldn't have been able to put in the performance that he did, because it did him and AJ. He put on the best performance, and I've said this again. This has been the best cinematic type of match that has been during this COVID thing. I know people want to talk about that the Stadium Stampede match, but I doubt it. I didn't watch it, but from me, I can already tell that it's not gonna be for me. Because it's a whole bunch of silly shit. There was nothing silly about that Boneyard match. That was a serious match. It was a serious match. Um, that's the reason why I think that's the best one, because it wasn't anything silly about it. Even though you got Druids coming out of nowhere, right? You got Druids coming out of nowhere. Still, it wasn't like the scene with the ninjas and with the Street Profits and Viking Raiders with the ninjas. No, that's not what it's no. So. it's not silly like that. These were, so it's still the best cinematic match of this era, and it's been the best one so far. It's been the most real one. The night the Adam Cole, what's his face, dream match was like that. It was taken more seriously. That one was taken more seriously as well. It just probably wasn't as good as the Boneyard match. But yeah, but the best one, and Undertaker won and everything like that, and he seems to be happy with it. Seems to be happy with it, and so happy so much that he seems to think that he doesn't need to do anything else, about it. The loss of his brother. He says a lot of things here. He says about the loss of his brother so quickly. The Kobe Bryant loss. Uh, that that took a toll on him as well. And then of course the stuff with the Goldberg stuff. All of that stuff's happening. Realizes that he's got young kids. He's got two young kids. He's got a wonderful wife that he loves. He's got a family that he enjoys being with. He wants to spend more time. He wants to do things. He wants to go to volleyball tournaments. He wants to see them grow up and everything like that. He wants to do all of this. And does he really want to? Does he really want to like continue to risk it? Right? Does he really want to continue to risk it and have something happen where he's once again where he's not around for those special moments because he's got to do another surgery or he's got to or he can't move or something like that, or he's out on the road in Saudi Arabia or this and that, or he's gone. His life is too short. Life can be taken away from you in an instant, right? So he talks about that, and he kind of gives off the feeling that that he is gone. He always says never says never. You never know with Vince and everything like that. But he thinks that he is. He thinks he's gone. He thinks he is done. He says that the cowboy really rides away, and he talks about everything like that. Um, so yeah, and that's how they kind of ended it. And they kind of ended talking, with the people, some of the talking heads talking about him and talking about what they mean to he means to his business and what he has meant. And he talks about what this business has meant to him and everything like that. And so they ended on pretty much that note, and it was wonderful. This has been great. This has been a fantastic documentary, and I love the way that they ended that, talking about the legend of the Undertaker. So, yeah, that was a great way to end the entire documentary. Like I said before, this was a great one. Again, my only thing was that they started this documentary doing the Michael Jordan documentary, and then they really should have waited. Really should have waited till the documentary, the Michael Jordan documentary, ended, so that for those of us like myself and many others wrestling fans who also was watching the Michael Jordan documentary, they could have we could have went directly from the Michael Jordan documentary to the Undertaker documentary, and I think this, and if they would have done that, yesterday would have been chapter 4, I believe, and then no, actually, it actually would have been this would have been chapter 5 because we had 2 weeks of Lance Armstrong. We had 2 weeks of Lance Armstrong, so that was 1 and 2. That would have been chapter 1 and 2. We had the B Water with Bruce Lee, which they would have been in 3. The Long Gone Summer of Social McGuire, which was in 4. And it actually would have turned out that it would have ended on the same way if they just would have waited until the Michael Jordan documentary ended. So again, I think that was the only thing that was wrong with this, is that it started too early. It should have started right after the the thing. Because then even then after that they would have got more. They would have been able to get more comments about it, because you can tell that a lot of this was shot maybe in different parts. Because when you go back all the way to WrestleMania 33, you can see that as time goes on, they shoot more and more. They shoot more and more stuff. So and I even think that they could have, if they would have waited, they could have probably even shot more stuff, and they could have had more things involved, and it would have been more fun. So, but we would have more comments about certain things and certain topics, especially in the new stuff. But all in all, this was a great one. This was a great follow up to The Last Dance, and I think I enjoyed it. This is something that you're not going to get, and I think the reason why this was so special because he was the Undertaker. This was a person that you really have never seen do. From what I know, Undertaker does like he did like 3 or 4 you know television things, right? He back in the day he did Jimmy Kimmel Live. They showed where he was on Regis and Castle Lee. He did some other television show. They showed a clip of that. Um, because they were talking about how he protected the business and protected the character. So while as kayfabe started to drift away and people like Stone Cold Steve Austin was on all of these TV shows and The Rock were on all these TV shows and China was also on all of these TV shows as well. And and they were starting to do all these other all of this major media. And of course we know where it is now. The Undertaker, that wasn't his thing. He really did stuff talking about other stuff. I think you could watch any documentary on the network, and there isn't a lot of Undertaker in there because he wanted to protect the business. So there wasn't a lot of stuff in there. So I really do think that this kind of access, you know, it's so good because it's the Undertaker. That's why, and you haven't seen Undertaker like this. But I also think that it catches up why he's still active. See, I think if they did something like this with Steve Austin, with The Rock, with Hulk Hogan, all that stuff, if they sat down and they did like a Michael Jordan documentary like that, where they sat down and they talked about the stuff from the past, who knows? Sorry for the interruption, but like I was saying, if they did something like with Austin, with Hogan, with The Rock, something like that, where they went back in time like Michael Jordan and they talked about his career and things like that, that would be enjoyable. That would be great. That would be, especially The Rock, because I think The Rock is the biggest star ever. He's one of my favorites of all time, and so I just think that would be great to go back and do and relive and everything like that, just like it was with the Michael Jordan Last Dance. But there's something about catching it when the cameras were right there with the Undertaker, and something special about the Undertaker and the character. That I just think that it would just be a fantastic. This is just a fantastic documentary. This once again, what the WWE does with their documentaries are just incredible, and this right there proved it. So if you have not watched it, go out, watch it. It was such a fantastic job, and all I can say is what everybody said yesterday on Twitter. Thank you, Taker. Thank you for your years of enjoyment. Thank you for putting your body on the line for our entertainment. Thank you for this everything that you have done for the wrestling business, for WWE, and for us fans. It's been an honor to watch you work. All I can say is thank you, Taker, and just was your last ride. And to be honest with you, I kind of hope it is because this is your right will. This is what you were looking for. The Boneyard match was fantastic. So if this was your last match, I I'm glad that you were able to go out the way you wanted to go out. As you said a couple times in that documentary, he went out on the shield, and it was really really fun time to watch you work. So yeah, post your comments down below. Tell me what you guys think. Let me know what you guys thought of the documentary. Let me know what you guys thought about anything. Is there anything that in my recap that I missed that you thought was important to talk about, or anything like that? Let me know down in the comment section. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you go to patreon.com/AJTrip to become a Patreon. When I get to a certain number of patrons, I will open it up so that you can be able to vote on what you want to see on my YouTube channel, what you want to see me play on my Twitch channel, what you want to hear me talk about on my podcast. So yeah, make sure you go to patreon.com/AJTrip and become a patron. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is your boy AJ Trip signing off. As always, be good to each other, y'all. Be careful out there. And once again, thank you, Jay. I hope you can rest in peace.